What's up, guys? Good morning. Hope y'all are doing well. We're going to be taking a look at XRP today. We're going to take a look at the stock market, Bitcoin, and we're also going to take a look at some coins that have been popping off that have also been catching my attention. Good morning, Jordan. Nice to have you here. Jorge, Zombie Birdhouse, Solos, and Ian. Nice to have you guys here. We're going to start off with XRP here. Now, what I'm looking at for XRP, let me show you guys over here. So now I want to show you guys this chart, this Wyckoff reaccumulation schematic that I've been looking at. I'm just going to go on my Discord and copy and paste it just so you guys can check it out. One sec here. Okay, so I can't pull it up right now, but we'll check over here. Wyckoff reaccumulation. I want you guys to take a look at this diagram, and you guys can see that XRP is doing this exact same structure. Let me just try to find where exactly it is here. Okay, let me see here. I think it's this. Damn, I can't seem to find it. But basically, it's this range right here. The only difference is that instead of the creek, going only partially down, it actually comes down below the bottom half, below the bottom end of the range, has its deviation, and then pops back into the range over here. And we see the same thing with XRP, right? This was the bottom of our range right here. You see how we wicked below it, and now we're back above it. More importantly, the 200-day SMA has never been taken out. We wicked below it, but we never had any weekly close below it. Do you guys see this? And then last week I said that if we had a doji here, if we closed as a doji, then this week we would likely see continuation higher. Okay, so now from that close, from this close, we went up about 11%. So we'll see if we can have some continuation here to at least fill this wick right here. But something that I want to point out here on the small time frame is that XRP, it did hit the 123.6% fib. So if you take a fib from this high on April 13th down to this low on April 16th, notice how we didn't go above the 1.382 and 1.236. I'll show you guys right here. You see how we just tapped the 1.236? So we have to be open-minded to the possibility that this is an A wave, where you have a 3-wave move down, you have a 3-wave move up for your B wave, and now we have a 5-wave move to the downside for your C wave, and then we get bought up from there. And if we did come down for this C wave below $2.03, then it would likely just come down to these retracements before being bought up back again. Okay, so these are all the retracements over here. So you may even see the price come back down to the 200-day moving average, maybe even wick below it towards the 618, depending on how big of a flush we'll get in the broader market. But if XRP does manage to get above 2.294 and 2.324, then it's very likely that we're going to have continuation up, and we're going to be doing something more along the lines where more along the lines of this green count that I have here. So this is the green count, and then this is the alternative count, where this is a B wave, and then we come down for a C wave, right? So this green count would just take us right up to the supply zone. You can clearly see a supply and demand zone here. Every time we come down to the bottom end of this range, we get bought back up. You guys see that? Anytime we're at the top, we get knocked back down. So I think we come back up to this supply over here, as long as this wasn't a B wave. Even if this was a B wave, we would eventually come back up to this supply at around 287 to $3. But let's just see how this plays out and how we react to this current resistance over here. Something I also noticed on XRP, along with the rest of the altcoin market, we're noticing a head and shoulders pattern forming, where you have your left shoulder, your head. So this was your break of structure, right? And then you have your change of character, a move down to, or a partial decline to fill inefficiency, and then we have continuation up. But will this continuation here sustain itself, or will this be a failed attempt, and then we move up? We move up once we hit the fibs below, right? So then this is your right shoulder. So your left shoulder, your head, and then your right shoulder here. But yeah, this is just Wyckoff reaccumulation. Let me see if I can find that diagram one more time. Let me just see here, because I really want to show you guys this reaccumulation. Maybe I can find it here. Can't seem to find it. I put it in the Discord, but I don't want to open up the Discord right now, just for privacy reasons for the Discord members. But yeah, it's Wyckoff reaccumulation. It's basically this structure right here, right over here. Okay, and then this is what I would be expecting, just to move up to these levels here. You guys can see, because this was your wave 1 right here on XRP. This was your wave 2. This was your third wave to the upside. And then this is your reaccumulation structure that we've been in for about 140 days now. Let me see here. Yeah, 140 days of reaccumulation. Then you have deviation below the established range. You wick to the 200-day SMA and even go a little bit below it. And then you get bought back up with a violent retraction back into the range. So there is a possibility, let's not rule out the possibility, that we just come down for a little C wave here, just to retest this green region. You see, this green region is the range low, the reaccumulation range low. So if we just ABC on it, double tap it as support, and then we can have a healthy move up, or we just get above 230, 232, and then we're good for just to move up from here. So we'll see. Let's take a look at BTC over here, and then we'll take a look at all of your requests. So Satilla is saying Matic is up 35% for the week. Yeah, Matic, I think Matic is going to shock the crypto market. like Matic hasn't really been doing anything for so many years that when it does have expansion to the upside, it'll be very explosive. Let me see here. Okay, so this is BTC, right? And BTC, it still looks good. It's still trending up. Let's go on the 4 hour, and let's put some indicators on this chart over here. Okay, yeah, so it's still trending up on the 4 hour time frame. You see how it's above the upper half of this Keltner channel on the 4 hour? It's above it right now. So as long as it stays above it on the 4 hour, then it wouldn't surprise me that we see a continued move to the upside. Taking a look here on the daily time frame, it does look like it's entering into a parabolic phase, or the trend is shifting for sure. See how it squeezes up here on the daily time frame? And remember what I said in the previous two streams. We needed to see two things in order to confirm the uptrend. Number one would be a break above this trendline liquidity. And number two would be a push above the 200. And we're above the 200 at 88.7. Okay? So yeah, the trend is definitely shifted here. So very good news for crypto. And yeah, this is Matic. Let's check out Matic here. Which chart did I put this on here? Let me see if it's on this chart right here. Okay, yeah, so this is the chart right here on Matic. We called the bottom on Matic in the Discord. I think I put it on the Telegram as well. But yeah, this is Wyckoff reaccumulation as well. Like, you can consider this whole move your creek, right? You see how well it's adhering to this pattern? It's just oscillating up and down over the span of 1,000 days. So over 1,000 days, we have this falling wedge-like structure within this reaccumulation pattern. Then in 2025 of February, we come down below the range, and we've been trading under it for 102 days. So if, let's say, you didn't know anything about charts, let's say you didn't really have anyone to tell you what's happening or what to look for, as a Matic holder, you would probably say, yeah, this coin is definitely dead right here. I'm just selling it all, you know? And then this is the ultimate retail trap, right? So retail sells here upon the break of the lower end of the reaccumulation range. And then the smart money buys that supply up. So as long as price can get above 31 to 36 cent, as long as we can see a push back into this range and then maybe even a back test, then that would confirm that this move over here was definitely manipulation before we have expansion. So this is what's called your spring, and then you have what's called your jump across the creek. So you can consider this like your creek, and then we're jumping across the creek. Okay? And it would be the same concept as XRP, right? It would just be a simple wave 4. Or this is a little bit more complex. Because we had such a simple wave 2, and this goes hand in hand with the law of alternation in the Elliott wave theory, where when you have a simple wave 2, you tend to have a very complex and long and drawn out wave 4, and vice versa. But yeah, this is what I'm thinking on Matic, but I would first want to see price get back into this range here, or even attempt to make a move back to it, and we're currently doing that. So it's looking pretty good. I want to show you this Dent chart that I made here. So there's this Dent chart. I think I put it on this layout. Okay, yeah, so this is the Dent chart right here. And this is exactly XRP back in 2017. Like, let's take a look at XRP here. I think I put it right here on this chart. Do you guys see how similar this is? Right? Now, Dent is a very high risk coin. All cryptos are high risk. I just want to make you aware of that before I show you this analysis. So I'm just going to show you guys this. And you guys can see how similar this is. Is that not the exact same thing? Right? You have your drop-off point. You have your peak before you enter into capitulation. We have our first leg, a consolidation zone, and then you have your last leg to the 702. And we did the same thing with Dent. Then we have an ABC down. So you have your price-based capitulation, ABC down, and then you have time-based capitulation. And we see the exact same structure here on XRPs. So very interesting setups in the market. Dent, Matic, Filecoin, KDA, ADA, all these coins are looking pretty good. Let's pop up the chat here. Let's see what coins you guys are requesting. Oh, sorry, awful reverb sound. Yeah, I know my mic is messed up. Let me just see here. All right, I think that should be better. All right, let's take a look. Good morning, Realized Bear. How are you guys doing? Trying to find where I put this Matic chart that I made, or this Dent chart that I made. But yeah, this is Dent. I think it's gonna I think it's gonna do a 7 to 8x from the current price. So it's gonna have expansion above this range towards the 618. I would say this is the minimum target. And it does have the possibility of coming up to these higher retracements and even breaking the all-time high. But I would say the safest target would be right here, just in case we come and get knocked back down to the top of this range over here. Let's take a look at ES, S&P 500 futures. And yeah, so just consolidation here on S&P. Like I said last week, right? We had a piercing line reversal, candlestick pattern, and now we're just seeing consolidation over here. Actually, we were turning down last week, right? And then this week's candle took out the lows and then retracted back above it, over 50% of the previous candle. So it's just consolidation here. We can't fully say that we've invalidated the bullish scenario. Let's go to this wave count that I made here on the S&P. So yeah, this is the wave count here on the S&P, and it's very possible that this was a wave 4. What if this was a huge wave 4 and then we have one more push up here? There is a possibility of that, or even let's take a look at the 50 and 200-day moving average. $50-day. So yeah, you see how we have a death cross where the 50-day cross is down below the 200 on the S&P? I actually think we rally into it. We rally into it at around 57, 56. And then we come to fill this little gap over here from 55.08 to 56.44. So we'll see how it plays out today. The stock market opens in about 20 minutes. And we're gonna take a look at PulseX, and then we're gonna come back to XRP. We're gonna take a look at Bitcoin, and then the rest of your coins that you guys have. Okay, so this is PulseX over here, and I believe we called a bottom on PulseX a few weeks ago. So this is a macro B wave. So this was your A wave, and then this huge diagonal structure was your macro B. Now, usually in the Elliott wave theory, your E wave doesn't tend to go below the C wave. However, since it's such a highly over-leveraged market, you tend to see deviations of patterns. In this case, we sweep this psychological support over here. You see this psychological support that we've been using for about almost 2 years. We swept it here, but then if you looked closer on PulseX on the 4-hour time frame, we were just oscillating back and forth, but it looked like ascending accumulation. And you tend to see this at the bottom, at bottoms in the market. And I said that if we got back above this historical support, diagonal support, then it's likely we would head to the POC. We were finding resistance here at this POC, and then we popped above it, and now we're holding it as support. So now that we're above the POC, it opens the doors to higher prices. And remember what I said, as soon as you get up to this level here on PulseX at 40.47 and 40.51, then it's very likely that this was the bottom. We can even say now, since we're above the POC and this diagonal trendline resistance, that the bottom is in. But when you get up to these higher retracements, then we can for sure say that this was just a deviation of the macro range lows before we head into expansion. Now, something very interesting in the PulseChain ecosystem is this chart right here, PLS. The reason it's very interesting is because we swept the range lows. And I do think that Kraken is going to list PLS. So you see how we swept this range low over here? This is a range low. This is the range lows that we've been using for about 663 days. We sweep it over here, on March 13th, and we were trading under it for about a little bit over a month. Now we're above it in the month of April, right? So if we can get back up to the 200-day and then get above it, then we can for sure say, yeah, this was our deviation. My bias is that the bottom is in here on PLS, and this would be considered a spring in Wyckoff accumulation, right? So this is your macro range over here. I don't see a reason why PLS wouldn't get back up to this, back up to mid-range over here. Okay. Okay, and then we would be targeting 0.0011. That's a very safe target, conservative target from here. So about a 30x. Just remember that this is a very risky coin. You can kind of consider it like a lottery play. But yeah, let's go back to Bitcoin here and check out what's going on. Yep, still trending up. Addo is asking, should we wait or DCA? If you're referring to the PulseChain ecosystem, yeah, you should start DCAing, not financial advice. Just from what I see on the chart, I can see that it's more likely than not that the deviation has already played out below the range lows. So Haskala is asking, do you see an ABC down on XRP before takeoff? So like I was saying in the beginning of the live, XRP has hit the 1.236 extension. I'll show you guys right here. You see this level? At 229. So yeah, there is a possibility that this is an A wave where you have a 3 down. This is your B wave where you have a 3 up, and then we have a 5 wave move down below $2.03. But in order to invalidate a scenario in which we come down below $2.03, we will need to get back above 229 in order to consider that this was your wave 2 low. Right, this was your wave 1, this was your wave 2, and now we're starting our impulsive move to the upside. However, don't be surprised if XRP comes down just to tap this this reaccumulation support over here. It wouldn't be something out of the ordinary if we ended up doing that, right? This is just your reaccumulation support. So if we did come down for an ABC, I wouldn't panic because it would just be considered what's called your test after your spring. So right up here. Okay. Something like that. So this is your spring. This is your test if we come down here, right? And then once you get above these highs, you have your last point of support. You can even consider something like this your last point of support before you have your expansion, or in other words, your jump across the creek. Remember, I was showing you guys that this is your creek. You see how we're creaking down? Right? Your creak, your spring, your test, your last point of support, and then your jump across. Very simple. Okay? Okay, yeah, this is the chart that I wanted to show you guys, but I was having trouble finding it. So yeah, this is the very simplified chart of what I think Matic is doing and what many other altcoins are doing in the market. You have a clear supply and demand zone here, and every time we try to escape this range, the price gets knocked down, right? Almost like there is a concerted effort to keep the price from escaping the range. And then once you once you have deviation below the range here that we've been using for almost 1,000 days, yeah, about 987 days, we sweep it in 2025 of April, and then we pop back above it. So I'm thinking we see something like this on Dent, and then this would also be your value area high at around 0.006. Now there is a possibility that it goes higher, like I was showing you guys, and it does something. It does something like XRP in the previous chart I was showing you. There's a possibility it blows way past my target for Dent. So that's why I always recommend never sell it all. Always keep some coins aside, just in case. But yeah, XRP is still above the daily momentum indicator over here. Don't be surprised if we see a wick down like this and then come back up. Okay. So XCal is saying, Pip, what do you think about the sayings sell in May and go away, since May is coming soon? We could have a sell in May and go away event, but in order for us to sell, we need the prices to rapidly expand, right? Otherwise, you know, we'll see how high things go in May. It may give us the opportunity to sell in May. We'll see as time comes. So D-Dollar is asking for SIA coin. I'm actually really bullish on SIA coin. I'm going to show you guys this here. Okay, so this is SIA coin here, and on the daily time frame, we have the exact same setup as XLM. Like if you take a look at XLM, you can see that it did this exact same setup before it blasted. Let's take a look here. You guys see that? I think there's another coin that one of my members told me to look at, and it has this same structure here. DNT, I think it was. Yeah, so you see DNT, same structure. like these head and shoulders patterns that form at bottoms, they turn out to be so explosive. I've seen it so many times in the crypto market. It's a common retail pattern trap, and it forms right at the bottom, and as soon as you go below the neckline, that marks the spring, right? You see, so SIA coin is doing it, Dent is doing it, DNT is doing it. What other coin is doing this structure? Filecoin as well. Even Filecoin is doing this. Do you guys see that? Okay. Is KDA doing it? Let me see here. KDA. And yeah, KDA is doing it. The head and shoulders structure at the bottom. The biggest retail trap in history. Let me see here. Thank you so much for the super chat, Sandile. I'll definitely take a look at GLMR. You're asking if $6 to tag March 22 highs. All right, we'll check that out. Elliot is asking for Litecoin. Good morning, Ricky. Glad to have you here. And Coco is asking for Cake. So we'll take a look. And then Tony, you're looking at SUI and Doge. Let's take a look at SUI, and then we'll take a look at GLMR. I actually like the structure on GLMR and SUI as well. Okay, let's take a look here. SUI. So we perfectly call the bottom on SUI in the Discord. You can see that it just came down to the 38.2% fib, and to just back test this supply zone, or what was previously supply, back test it into support. You can even consider it like Wyckoff reaccumulation, where this is your accumulation sideways. Then you have your expansion, or in other words, your sign of strength. After your sign of strength comes in, you just come down to back test the range for your backup phase or your BU before you have continuation. So this is what I think SUI is going to do. I think it's going in for the fifth wave. And these would be the targets. So I'm looking at 734, 680 to 734, 936 to 1174, and then the possibility of us hitting 13 to 15 bucks. Okay. This is what I see on SUI. So from current price, about a 2.5x, 2.5 to around a 5x. Not much gains considering how much it went up in the past. So yeah, that's SUI. And then we'll also take a look at GLMR. So now, looking at GLMR here, we could argue that a bull could argue that this is just Wyckoff accumulation, and then this is your spring. However, it does look like the price has come down, has deviated too far away from the bottom end of the range. You can see we deviated about 64% from the bottom end of this range. So in order for me to be bullish or come up with a bullish scenario on Moonbeam, I would want to first see the price rally back to 0.15. Let me put it over here. Right over here. 0.1519. Once you get above that level, then we could say, oh, okay, yeah, this was a deviation. And then we're going to go in to fill these higher inefficiencies. Okay. So I would want to see a move above that level first. So VIXC is saying all coins just jumped. Yeah, they just had a nice push up. Let's take a look. Let's go back to XRP here. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Remember, guys, this is what we want to see. We want to see a move back above 231, 2.319 on XRP in order to invalidate the possibility of a C wave down below $2.04. Remember that this is just our alternate count for now, as long as we stay below this resistance here. Otherwise, we're in our third wave, which would likely come up to this supply zone. Now, this would be a wave 5 of 1, right? It would be pretty explosive if this is the bottom, which it likely is. Because when we go ahead and look towards total 3, we'll take a look at total 3 here. Yeah, so this is total 3. It perfectly came up to our level that we marked out in the Discord. I also put this on the Telegram. So you see how it came up to the 786 and to this 4-hour inefficiency over here. Let me go on the black chart here. I'll show you guys. There you go. Right, you have your break of structure. This is total 3, so this is the total altcoin market cap excluding Bitcoin. You have your break of structure, a rally back up for your change of character, a partial decline down to the 702, and then you have continuation up. Okay, so it's looking pretty good here. Now all I would want to see going forward is a move above 809 billion. on the 4-hour time frame and a close above it in order to confirm higher. Then we would be targeting the 200-day moving average, which would be sitting right at 848.9 billion. But this is the wave count on total 3. Not much has changed, and the targets still remain the same for wave 5. I still do think we top out at around 1.66 to 1.8 trillion dollars, right? This is the wave count right here. And taking a look at the momentum indicators that I was showing you guys, we're currently above the upper band of the Keltner channel, and we're also above the moving average momentum indicator that I was showing you guys. Okay, now all we would need to see here going forward is just a move to the 200-day moving average and above. That would be at 848.9 billion, but so far looking pretty good. This was your ending diagonal within your wave C. And when we go ahead and measure this last leg right here, so where did this C wave come down to? In order to find where the C wave came down to, we can take a trend-based fib to this, right? And this is where you would take a trend-based fib to. You'd start from the top of your trend to the bottom of your trend and up to the counter trend. And you can see that this C wave perfectly hit the 1.702 extension. Do you guys see that? Right here? So we'll see how it plays out. But everything is looking bullish. Or I would say most of the market is. So Doge is printing a falling wedge over here. But notice where this support came down to. We came all the way back down to retap the highs of this accumulation range that we've been in. You see how we've just been oscillating within this range? We even had a false break over here. So now all we did was just come back down to tap it as support before we have continuation. This is for Doge. Okay, and we also came down to the 70.2% fib. Doge looks pretty bullish. You see here. Looks pretty good. So nothing has changed on my analysis for Cake. Someone in the chat, one of the members was asking for Cake. Nothing has changed. I do think we still see a move up to around 236 to 249 and then get knocked back down and just oscillate before we end up squeezing above these range highs. Now we have been within this accumulation range for about 1,000 days. I do think that we come up to around 674 and get knocked back down to around 440 for one little tap of the range as support, and then see a move up to around $10 to $12 with the possibility of wicking to around 13 to 14 bucks. After it has this move over here from 10 to 12 bucks, then it's likely going to come back down to tap this range again as support. That's what I'm thinking for Cake. This is a very simplified chart, but the only reason it's simplified like this is because we're still within this range, right? We even have a smaller supply and demand zone over here. You see how many times the price has tried to escape this smaller range that we have here on Cake? Right? Almost like there's a concerted effort to keep the price down. That's because they're selling up here to accumulate down here before we have expansion, right? So it's likely that if we make our way up here again, which would be a fourth touch of this supply, it's likely that fourth attempt would be successful. Okay, so that's what I see on Cake. Still bullish on Cake, nothing has changed. And when we take a look at the market cap chart of Cake, we do see that the 786 is at around 3.6 billion, which would be 11 bucks, 11 to 12 bucks. Okay, notice how on Cake we actually made a lower low below the range, but on the market cap chart we've just been making higher lows. And then check where the 786 is. Right there at 3.57 billion. Yeah, so that would be around 10 to 12 bucks. Okay, we're gonna take a look at Flare, RNDR, and we'll also take a quick glance at HBAR. So now I do think that Flare has bottomed. I'll tell you guys why. I think the max target for Flare would be 30 cent, simply because that's the 4.236 extension. When we take a fib from the highs of the range. Okay, so you see this sweep over here on Flare? This move here on Flare was the bottom. It shouldn't go back below this low, or sorry, this close at 0.0122. So Flare is extremely unlikely to go back below this low, because this just looks like a manipulation algo, very much like Sologenic before it blasted off. See how you just sweep this low? And we're above our momentum indicator here, and the Keltner channel is turning green, so it's looking pretty good. I like how it's grinding up here as well, like it's grinding up to the side. It'll likely look like that. Okay. Now, when you want to look at the targets, go to the BitTrue chart, because you want to account for the wicks when you're placing the fibs. And we still see here that the 3.618 and 4.236 extension is sitting at around 25 to 29 cent. So I think price gets up to that level. You see how many times we've come up to this supply zone on Flare? once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, and every single time we get knocked down, right? So you have to ask yourself, who is selling here? Who is not allowing the price to escape, right? It's the composite operator or the hidden hand accumulating at demand. And this was the ultimate shakeout where we actually go below this low here in November. And that's a very important low because that low was set before we did over 200%. So we swept it here and now we're back above our momentum indicators. So I do see a move back up to this supply sitting at around 0.04. Do see a little bit of a retrace, and then we should have our expansion. Okay, looks something like this. Very simplified chart. That's what I see on Flare. Nothing has really changed. You'd want to look to take profits all the way up on Flare. Very risky coin. Just judging by the way it moves. Like it's very, it moves really fast. Okay, lots of confluence around this 17 to 18 cent area and the 25 to 30 cent area. So this is where you'd want to look to exit your position or take partials just in case we go higher. But yeah, these are the exit targets for Flare. Let's go back to BTC here. Let's check out what it's doing. Look at BTC here on the 3-day time frame. Doesn't it looks really bullish? Like we're testing the upper band of this Keltner channel here. And you can see that anytime we did that in the past, it's actually broken through. You see? And this is on the 3-day time frame. You see, every time we test that upper band, when we're coming from the bottom of a correction, we go in for a nice run. So it's likely that Bitcoin is going to go in for a run above 108K. See, this is the daily time frame right here. Okay, so we're actually under this resistance here at the 618. So these would be your supports. Okay. So the stock market is open. Let's go take a look at the S&P. Okay, S&P is it's moving up. It's moving up here. Let's check on ES. Or let's go to this wave count here. So it looks like this was a leading diagonal on the S&P, where this diagonal structure here was a wave 1. And if you notice, across the crypto market, we had a very similar pattern playing out, where we had a rising wedge, and then we have a breakdown, an A, a B, and then a C, down to around the 61.8% fib, and now we're seeing a move back up to the highs here. So it looks like this was a wave 2, and now we're coming up for a wave 3 here to fill this gap from 55.07 to 56.38. We've been taking a look at this gap for a few weeks now, so see how it plays out. But yeah, we would be targeting this gap here. And then the 200-day moving, if we get above 56.41, we'd be taking a look at 57.46, which would be the 200-day moving average. Like I said, I do think that we rally into the death cross. Okay, don't forget, we have a death cross here on the S&P. I think we rally into it. So right around here. Right around this level. Get above the 200-day, then it's looking good. It's looking good for this being a wave 4. This huge move down here. And then we come up to make a new all-time high. There is a possibility of that. So Luke is saying, Lucky Luke is saying, what is ink on PulseChain saying, and is the chart bullish? Incentive token is extremely bullish. I'm going to show you guys incentive token. So this is PLS. I'm not sure if you caught it at the beginning of the stream. I think that this is Wyckoff accumulation, and then this is what's called your spring. And we also call the bottom on PulseX. But we didn't take a look at incentive tokens, so let's check that out. So yeah, we call the bottom on incentive token in the Discord. I think this is the bottom right here. You see how we just swept these lows, and then we have a retraction back into the range. So the low was the 702 here. So let's just remove everything on this chart, just so you guys can see clearly. If we take a fib from this low up to the high here in March, look where incentive token came down to. Right at the 702. Okay. And then you also sweep this low. So as long as price can stay above this level right here at $1.38 on the weekly time frame, then there's no doubt that this was the bottom here, and then we should see expansion above these range highs. At 330. Okay. However, in this scenario in which we have the weekly candle retract back under $1.38, then it's likely we would do something like this, where we take out the 786 at 79 cents and then see the pop up. But so far this is looking very promising. Don't forget the wave count, which is right over here. This is the wave count. Okay, I see a move to 16.55 and 26 bucks. This is where you would want to take profit, not financial advice. And then it does have the possibility of going higher to around 49 to 62. But remember what I said. You need to see us hold above this support here at around the $1.35, $1.34 region on the weekly. Okay. But yeah, incentive token, very, very bullish. Okay, S&P 500 is looking good this morning. It looks like this was a leading diagonal. We came down for an ABC correction for your wave 2, and now we're starting our wave 3 or C to the upside. Remember, this could be an ABC correction, where the C wave comes up to backtest the death cross, and then we see continuation down. But when we consider the macro wave count here, there is a possibility this was a wave 4, and we have one last all-time high here. Let's go back to BTC. Let's check out what BTC is doing. Okay, it's looking good still. This is the 4-hour time frame. It's looking pretty good still. Just want to see him move back above this 618. 618 sitting at 94,367. If we can come back up to those highs, then it's looking pretty good. So Muhammad is asking for KDA, or sorry, yeah, KDA. Clint is asking for Q&T. I'm super bullish on Q&T and KDA. Wow, look at KDA on the 4-hour. Like, look how strong this uptrend is. It's above our moving average momentum indicator, and it's above the upper band. It's trading above the upper band of our Keltner channel here. Usually when it trades above the upper band of the Keltner channel on the 4-hour, then it's likely within its parabolic move to the upside. You can even see it's very evident here on the daily time frame how we curled up like this. We have a doji, and then you have a nice engulfing candle here, right? So yeah, KDA is bottomed. KDA is very likely has bottomed. Where did I put the chart on KDA? Let me see here. Okay, I think this was the chart here. Yeah, this was the chart here I made on KDA. You see, this was your spring. This was your range that we've been holding on KDA for more than a year, 588 days. And it's in 2025 when we swept that psychological low. And look how violent this retraction back into the range is. Like, even on the 4-hour I was showing you guys, right? With the momentum indicator. Right? You see that? So these are the levels that I'm watching, or you could say next point of interest. Be sitting at $1.34 to $1.62. That's not a take profit level. That's just where we're going to find resistance at. But the levels over here at $2.97 and $5. Those are big resistance levels here. So what I would be expecting is something like this. Something like that. Okay, on KDA. Yeah, it would be $297, $5, and 630 to 730. And then it's likely you would come down to backtest this range here. You'd want to look to scale out of your KDA position right here. As soon as you get above these highs and we start hitting these targets, that's when you want to scale out aggressively for the anticipation of a move back down to these highs to retest it as support. In some cases, in Wyckoff accumulation, you don't come back to retest the range. Sometimes you just go straight for the all-time high and above, and you don't come back down to test it. But it's better to always be safe than sorry. So take profit during this distribution or expansion to the upside. Remember, this is your accumulation on KDA, right? We have an established high and we have an established low. When you sweep the established low, that would be considered your manipulation. And then after your manipulation, you have expansion or distribution. So this is a classic power of three setup: accumulation, manipulation, and distribution. ICT, the ICT theory and Wyckoff accumulation, they go hand in hand. They work really well with each other. But yeah, very bullish on KDA. Let's take a look at Q&T. I'm bullish on Q&T because in the last live I did say that if we get above this support or this resistance here and we turn it into support let me just turn off this alarm 1 sec. If we get above this and then turn it into support, then it's likely this was the bottom. So that's what I wanted to see on Q&T. I actually made a full wave count here on Q&T, so we'll go ahead and check that out. Look at Bitcoin over here reaching for the highs. We're definitely in a confirmed uptrend. And remember what I was saying? In all of the lives leading up to this moment, I was saying that when you have 3 floors of price action, that likely signals accumulation. First floor, and you'll know that it's a valid floor because every time we sweep the adjacent low, we rally. We have a nice rally, right? Like, you sweep this low and you rally. You sweep this low and then you rally. And this is exactly what ETH did back in 2017, I believe. So if we take a look at ETH, you see back in, this was August to October 2023. You have 3 floors. First floor, second floor, and then third floor, and then boom, right? Okay, this is Q&T. Looks good. You see, this is the wave count on Q&T going all the way back to 2018, right? You have a leading diagonal where the waves overlap each other, and then a wave 5 throw over, an ABC down for your wave 2 for your bear trap. Then you have an explosive wave 3 to the upside, taking you topping out at the 1.236 extension. You see how we topped out at the 1.236 right here. Now, what I'm thinking on Q&T is that this, we're within a huge wave 4, where we have an ABC down for your A, and then we have an ABC up for your B. And this B wave may only take us to around 662 to around 726, with the possibility of wicking to 789. And usually you get this, these types of structures in the market where you don't go too far past the last all-time high if the market is exhausted. So when we're up here on Q&T, we have to see where the rest of the market is, right? Because there's a very big possibility that we could top out here on Q&T. And this would be just a B wave before we have a 5 wave move down for your C wave of your wave 4. And then the wave 5 in the next cycle, or whenever this picks up again, it would be at over 2,000, like around, let me see here. Yeah, 2 to 3,000. Now, this would suggest that Q&T is within a much larger structure than we previously anticipated, like from the start, because the alternate scenario would be that this is your wave 4 right here, and then we're coming up for a wave 5 like this to around 1600, 16 to 1700. But the structure just doesn't seem right, because if this was the wave 5 here on Q&T, then it's over pretty much for Q&T. Like it would end up having an ABC down below 40. So I think the life of Q&T extends, but in order for us to see that, we need to form a bigger base, right? So this is the setup I'm currently looking at on Q&T. Once we get to that 500 to 726 region, you'd want to look to scale out of the position, not financial advice. And from a risk to reward point of view, that would be about 6 to 9x. So not bad. Always think about the people who control the market. It's usually the people with the most money, with the most funds, right? When they see, they don't need much of an increase in order for them to be satisfied with their portfolio. They just need a little increase. So if someone were to put $1 million into Q&T around this region and then do a 6x, that's all they would need. They would likely just sell here and then sell within this region here, just as it sweeps this previous all-time high. So always think like that, right? There is market makers who got in before you did. So yeah, I think it forms a little bit of a bigger base before we can have a wave 5 in the years to come that takes us to those $2,000, $3,000 price targets. And now that I'm looking at this like from an Elliott wave point of view, this is the law of alternation. Because look how simple this wave 2 was. Because this wave 2 was so simple, we have more of a long and drawn out wave 4. That would make sense. And then we go up for the wave 5 later. So Raw Vegan Nomads is asking about Jasmi. Good morning, Mina. Hope you're doing well. We'll take a look at Casper. We didn't do it yet. Let's take a look at Jasmi. Jasmi is a very interesting coin. We did call the bottom in the Discord. This is Jasmi over here. I was telling you guys, don't worry about the correction on Jasmi because it's just a flat pattern. That's all it is. Right? This is your wave 1 on Jasmi back in December 2022. Then you have an ABC down for your wave 2. And then this is your third wave to the upside, topping out in June. Then we have a flat pattern where your B wave sweeps your A wave high and your C wave sweeps your A wave low. Right? So 3 down in your A, 3 up in your B, and then a 5 wave move to the downside for your C wave. Notice where this C wave came down to. Right to the 61.8% fib, and now we're starting an impulsive move to the upside. You can see that we're back above the lower end of this range, and that would be sitting at 0.0162. So we're above it right now. And we were also saying that this is the bottom because we were seeing divergence on the RSI. See this little divergence we saw right here? So yeah, the next target on Jasmi, you'd want to hold Jasmi to 11 to 12 cent, around this area. We're going to see some resistance come in here at 8 to 9 cent. So this area right here. And then this area right here. Okay, so these are the two levels you'd want to be taking a look at. 11 to 12 cent is a big one. We've actually had this target for quite some time. So I think it comes to 11 to 12 cent. And then it has the ABC from there. This is VLO, guys. I'm pretty bullish on VLO. Even though the macro structure is corrective, I'm bullish on it because I think it has one more push up. All right, let's take a look at Litecoin. A lot of people in the chat are asking for it. Then we'll take a look at PEX and Casper. So Litecoin is looking pretty good. I believe we made this chart a few weeks ago, and it's following it perfectly. I mean, I did say we would come down to the 786 and then see a nice pop up, and look what we did. Came down to the 786, and now we're seeing a pop up. Now, it's a very simple analysis. You can see how many times we've interacted with this level on the weekly time frame, right? Used it as resistance and support many times. You see? So all we were doing over here was just coming down to backtest that support. we came down to the 786. So I do think the bottom is in here on Litecoin. And then this was simply a ABC correction down. This is your A, B, and your C wave. A lot of coins just had an ABC down to structural support. Like, for example, Tel did that. You see? This is your structural support. And all I did over here was just an A, a B, and a C to backtest it. And now we have continuation. So for the targets on Litecoin, these are the levels we'd be targeting. Q&T is looking pretty good right now. If we can get weekly close above 72.2, that would be bullish. I have too many layouts. I think I gotta delete my layouts and then just have one. I'm just trying to find where I put that Litecoin chart. It's driving me insane. But yeah, this is what I see on Litecoin. Very simple. It's just within a diagonal structure. And then if you just take a fib from the 2021 high down to the low, you can find all of the targets. And it's likely going to come up to the 786 at $330, which would be a 295% gain from current price. I would say this is a very low risk blue chip crypto. Steady gains, low risk, and I do see a move up to the 786 at 330. Now it's very possible that it goes above the last all-time high. So in that case, we'd be taking a look at these targets right here. Okay. Then that would be, so first target is 295%. Second is 495%. And then the third one is about a 6x. Okay. Very simple analysis. And then on the 4-hour time frame, it is trending up right now. You can see how well it's using these momentum indicators. Let's go back to BTC. Okay, yeah, still at the 618. All right, let's take a look at P-Hex, and then we'll take a look at E-Hex. Very bullish. So you can see here that we had what's called hidden bullish divergence, where on the daily time frame you have lower lows here, but then on the price chart you have a slightly higher low. And then notice how we came down to the 88.6% fib support on low volume. So this is a low volume pullback, right? So it doesn't take much money to drive the price back up again. So whenever you get a low volume pullback into important support, it's actually a very bullish sign. So now all I would want to see here going forward is just for PEX to continue to consolidate it within this ascending range here. Just continue to consolidate here like this, right? These would be all the midterm supports or interim supports right here. So you may just see consolidation here before we have a nice grind to the upside. But yeah, these would be the targets here. Taking a look at 10 to 12 cent. About a 14 to 17x. And now to find these targets, it's very simple. You just take a fib from this high here in December down to this low, and you get all of the interim resistance levels and the TP levels for the third wave. So as long as this low can hold here on PEX, then this would just be a wave 2. This is your wave 1, your wave 2, your third, fourth, and then we come up for a fifth. So I think we call the bottom on EEX as well. I did say that if we were to get back above this neckline here at 0.0019 and then hold support above it, then it's very likely that this was a head and shoulders fake out. Like I said, this is a classic retail pattern trap, where you have your left shoulder, your head, and then your right shoulder. And then I think when we were trading under here, that's when the case got dismissed. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we called the bottom before the news dropped. So as long as we can stay above this neckline, then it wouldn't surprise me that we go in for the next leg on EEX to 0.010, which would be the 38.2% fib when we measure the move from the 2021 high. And then yeah, these would be all the targets here. So about a 5x away to the 38.2, and then a 12x towards the 50%. Okay, we're going to take a look at Casper here. And yeah, this is Casper. So we took a look at Casper on the previous stream. We did put all of these fib supports on the chart. You can see how well it's held a 61.8% fib. And now we're making a move back up to these highs. So now that's the small time frame, and then this is the high time frame. We'll go on the weekly. This is what I see on Casper. just a falling wedge. So if Casper can do this, right? If it can hold 0.0085 to 0.00735, which would be the 786 and the 886 support, if it can hold this level and then see a move back up to this range that we had going on from June 2022 to March 2024, if we can get back up to this resistance here, then it's very likely it's going to see expansion up here to 21 cent, around 0.136 to 0.21. And now these targets were found by taking a fib from the peak or the drop off point before we have capitulation down. So this was our established range, and like I was showing you with the previous coins, every time the price gets up to the top of the range, we have a knockdown, right? Almost like there's a concerted effort to keep the price from escaping. Then we have a move below the range. You have your initial advance, your throwback, and let's see if we have continuation here. But I am expecting 13 to 21 cent on Casper. Now, there's no guarantee that once we get up here, it's gonna continue higher, because this is a significant supply zone. You guys see how we rejected off of it twice in 2021? And then this could also be Wyckoff redistribution, where you have your A, your B, and then your C. And then you have continuation down. So yeah, be careful on Casper. Like when it pops off, look to take profit as it expands above this range. Like this. Because the last thing you want to do is be caught in one of these, where it comes down like this. Okay, so this is what we want to see XRP get over this level here in order to invalidate the move down back below $2.03. Okay, S&P is looking pretty good, reaching for the highs of last week. It's looking pretty good. I like what I'm seeing. So now, like I was saying in the previous streams, there is a possibility that gold has stalled out. The reason I say that is because we see a wave 5 of 5 of 5. I'll show you what I mean on a more clear chart. I'll show you right here. I made this in the previous stream. This is the wave count back in 2022, right? This is your wave 1, your wave 2, your third wave, come down for a quick wave 4, and then if we zoom in, we have another 5 waves, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, and then if we look a little closer, like if we put this here, this would be your third, this is your fourth, and this is your wave 5 here. That would make the most sense. I don't like putting waves on gold too much. I like mostly just looking at the momentum indicators and fibs. So let's just see here. It does look like a blow off top though. Like just looking at this. So this is the weekly chart when we take a fib from the highs in 2020 down to the lows in 2022, and you can see that we have a wick up to the 4.236 extension along with the 3.618. So we actually went above the 3.618, but we're still within this area. So I want to see how gold reacts over here. If gold stalls out around this area, that would be good for crypto. That would be good for Bitcoin, right? See, gold is stalling out and Bitcoin's going up, right? As you guys can see. This would make the most sense for the wave count, like something like this. Oh yeah, I think gold is topped out here. There's a big possibility it has. Now all the gold I have, it's all physical. So I'm gonna keep my gold as a hedge. I won't be selling any of my physical gold, but out here, or if this is a local top or a local top on gold, then that would be good news for crypto bros, because when gold stalls out, Bitcoin, it starts to trend upwards. And this is what we're seeing right now. So now what I would want to see here going forward on BTC is just a move above the 61.8% fib